What's up, YouTube? We're going to have a little discussion today. So today, I wanted to talk about my approach to yo-yo reviews. So let's get into it. My approach to yo-yo reviews. So as you guys know, I like yo-yos. I like to review the yo-yos, and I think it's fun. It's cool. It's a cool thing to do. You guys like it, and I guess we should get into why. Why do I review yo-yos? Why do I do it? Well, one, so when I got back into yo-yo and I realized that it had become the thing that it is, sort of both a player's hobby and a collector's hobby, my first thought to do was to compare it to other hobbies that I had at the time, mostly playing guitar, like in bands. So anytime I wanted a new piece of guitar gear, I would go to YouTube and say, okay, I'm looking for an overdrive that completes X. And I would start to look through reviews of overdrives, and there were a lot of guys who were doing really great stuff and who still are doing really great stuff. Guys like Ryan Bruce, Fluff, Rob Chapman, Jared Dines, guys who would review tons of guitar gear, guitars themselves, pickups, amps, all that stuff. So it was really helpful to kind of have an idea in mind before I went shopping, or at least just went to buy. Because a lot of times the guitars and the stuff I was looking for, I couldn't try it in the store first. Like, I do have a couple of guitar centers that are pretty close to me, as well as plenty of mom and pop stores, but my taste in guitars became eclectic enough that they would have them, but they would have to order them in order for me to get them and play them before I bought them. So it was really just sort of a do your own research first and then order, and don't leave your house, because why would you want to put on pants? Who wants to put on pants? Not me. Forget pants. Anyway, although I have a hat on and it's late. But anyway, so when I looked at yo-yo, I realized this didn't really exist. Dylan Kowalski was doing it. He was doing it for a lot of yo-yos that were really tough to get, or just harder to get at the time, because he would just order them on AliExpress, and he would review those, be like, hey, this took a month to get here, but I'll review it, and I'll tell you what it's about. Some of them were good, some of them were crap, and, you know, he would kind of steer you in the right direction, as long as, you know, as far as the really cheap yo-yos were concerned. And he did some more expensive yo-yos as well. He did a lot of yo-yo factories and other stuff as well. Those were helpful reviews as well. But there really, other than Dylan, wasn't anybody doing that kind of stuff. And there was sort of this emergence of this sort of boutique yo-yo company thing going on. And you really couldn't find much information on the yo-yos. You know, some older ones, some guys had done some, like, reviews, and their channels were a little spotty as far as that was concerned. They didn't really post all that often, and you couldn't really compare their one review to anybody else's reviews, and I just didn't feel like anybody had any really good structure to yo-yo reviews. Now that's obviously changed. There's quite a few guys who do a lot of yo-yo reviews besides me, and who have really good structure and have really good opinions, and I really like those guys. So you should check them out as well, to get multiple opinions on stuff. You know, guys like Took Yo-Yo, Nate, what's Nate News channel? Let's Talk Yo-Yo, stuff like that. Those guys particularly are fantastic, along with Dylan, who does great videos still every day. I still watch Dylan's videos every day, and there just wasn't much of that when I started my channel. So I was like, okay, well, I don't have that much experience, but I like to collect things, so I guess I could just give my opinion. If people watch it, great. If nobody watches it, whatever. I like playing on YouTube, and why not? Let's do it. So it just kind of started from there, and I kind of built a following a little bit from that. I would post it places. I'm like, what do you guys think? But I'd look for feedback, and some of the criticism I got was rather harsh. Some of the criticism I got was good, but I made a lot of friends along the way, and I got some really good feedback, and then I started making better videos, and sort of all that feedback sort of rolled into what my current review system is. So what do I look for, and what's my approach to a yo-yo review today in 2018 when I go to review it? Well, the first thing I'm looking at is value. So I want to know what a yo-yo costs. Generally, the yo-yos that I tend to review tend to be between like $45 and $75. in cost, somewhere in that range. Usually $65 for like those boutique companies, like the Too Sick Olympiad was 65. It still is 65. Still totally available, by the way. One of my favorites. I've been playing the crap out of mine. But you know, so sort of as far as the boutique stuff's concerned, somewhere in the $65 range. If we're talking bimetals, more like 100. You know, right in that price range. So the first thing I kind of look for is value. Is it worth it? At this point in time, I've played a ton of yo-yos, so I know what a $100 yo-yo plays like. Does this $120 yo-yo play $20 better than a $100 yo-yo? Chances are probably not. Chances are there's probably a $100 yo-yo that I like better. Here's the Too Sick Knight. I like this very much. It's only $100. So it's very hard, you know, for me to sort of say, is it worth $20? And I'll often have that little point of the discussion in the video as to whether or not it's worth the extra money, based on what the standard is. So value is sort of the first thing I put into it. Is, or if it's a, you know, a cheaper yo-yo like a Top Yo or a Vosun or something like that, or Magic Yo-Yo, if it's less expensive, is it worth it? Because sometimes, you know, you can buy a ton of less expensive yo-yos, but if you don't play them, you're really just wasting your money. So is it really worth it to get a bunch of $20 yo-yos? Maybe you just get one or two $60 yo-yos and be happy with those, as opposed to having, you know, an arsenal of like 12 $10 to $25 yo-yos. So, you know, there's that as well. So there's the value aspect, and I try to put that in, and I try to be very critical of that. And I realize that, you know, there's a lot of things that go into price, but it's relatively competitive in the yo-yo scene, and if a yo-yo is not worth it, it's not going to succeed. So did everybody do the right thing to design a yo-yo that was worth it, but then also take all the right steps to make sure that that yo-yo was affordable and competitive in the price range in which it sits? So that's sort of the thing that I try to stick to, because I feel like that's kind of the one thing that doesn't necessarily get talked about as much. The next thing is that I kind of get into specs. So for the longest time, people are like, oh, just put them in the comments, put them on the screen, and I've done that a couple of times, but I kind of like to talk about the specs of the yo-yo, particularly the weight and the size. I feel like that really helps and adds to the play of the yo-yo. If you know it's a big yo-yo, and I'll tell you it's a big yo-yo or it's a small yo-yo based on standards of all the yo-yos that I've ever touched. I would say this is pretty standard, the Too Sick Olympiad. I have my Too Sick stuff out because I was playing with it. I'd say this is a pretty standard size, but if it's wider, I'll tell you it's wider. If it's more narrow, I'll tell you it's more narrow. If it's smaller or whatever. That's just how it'll go. So I'll give you kind of, here's what I think is standard, here's what I think is wide, here's what I think is not as small. But that's really up to you to decide what's big and what's small. I mean, maybe if you've been playing since the early 2000s, you think that all these yo-yos are huge because, you know, 888s and everything that came out before it when you were really getting into it was much smaller yo-yos. So, you know, that's all relative, but I try to give you sort of a baseline as far as the specs, and then I compare them to other yo-yos as well to sort of give you an idea of maybe, you know, you haven't tried this newest yo-yo yet, but maybe you've tried something else. So I try to like give you a comparison and then give you my first quick thoughts on the yo-yo. Once I give you sort of a quick rundown, I'm like, well, let's go show you. It's time to go do yo-yo tricks. Now, I'm not the most gifted yo-yo player in the world. I actually don't practice that much. You know, I try to learn a new element here and there, and I'm just having fun with it. That's really what it is for me. It's not a competitive thing. It's not something like, oh, I need to practice, I just need to get better. I'm just having fun. At this point, I've hit the point in my yo-yoing where I'm good enough to just have fun. I'm also good enough to sort of just learn a new thing when I want to learn a new thing, so I can just kind of pick through and like, oh, this looks fun. And then I'll play with that for a while, and you'll see that a bunch, and then you won't see it for a while, and then I'll bring it back. And, you know, I'm working on a new element you guys will probably see me abuse the crap out of for, you know, the next month or two, and then I'll forget it, and I'll bring it back in like 3 months or something. But, you know, I'll just kind of show you, and I feel like I'm a solid enough player to kind of like give you this idea of like, look how many tricks I'm doing with this yo-yo before I bind it. You know, show you how long it spins. I'm going to show you how smooth it is. I'm going to show you if it finger spins. I'm going to show you, like, you know, like I said, how long the tricks you can do, if you can get more wraps in the yo-yo, if it's snaggy, if it's hard to bind, one of those things. It's easier to show you. And if I make a mistake, I can say, well, that was my mistake, or I can be like, nah, the yo-yo kind of grabbed me there, and then I can show you, and that's a good way to sort of, you know, just kind of get the baseline down, because everybody's going to use a yo-yo differently. Nobody plays the same way. Evan Nagao doesn't play like Gentry Stein. You know, I don't play like anybody at Yo-Yo Club, although I learn their tricks all the time because they show them to me. But it's just, you know, nobody plays the same. But at the same time, if I give you a baseline of like, well, here's how it works with me, and then you can sort of think in your head, well, if it's stable and works for him in that way, it'll work for me in this way. And, you know, I show you the grinds, I show you, you know, how stable it is and how smooth it is, and that all kind of factors into that, back into that value thing. It's like, what are you paying for? Are you paying for a yo-yo that can handle all the tricks you want to do? Because that's important, right? It totally is. And then, you know, show you whether or not it's a bimetal, and because these just cost more to make. They just do. Talk to plenty of guys who make yo-yos and get yo-yos made. They just cost more to make. They're cool though. It's fun. Bimetals are fun, especially if you do them right. So that comes back to, is the yo-yo fun? So a lot of yo-yos can perform great, be able to spin a long time, do lots of tricks, but they feel stiff and boring, or just don't have enough like cool cuts in them, and the shape's boring or something like that. So I try to like give you my opinion on that. Now, a yo-yo that I may find boring, you may find super fun. I kind of find the N12 Shark Honor pretty boring, but there's tons of guys that are like, oh no, this yo-yo is great, it's awesome, it's so much fun. And I guess, you know, playing yo-yo is fun, and you know, it plays yo-yo good. So you're having fun with it. That's great. Good for you. I find it boring, but that's me, not you. It's an opinion thing, but I'll tell you. I'll give you my opinion on that. But it's really more opinion. And then I kind of run down pros and cons. Now you sort of get an idea of pros and cons as I go through the rest of the video, but I really try to highlight what I think the yo-yo is particularly good at. And I really try to highlight what I think the yo-yo particularly has shortcomings for. Like, especially if the finish is bad, or if the finish is tough to grind, and it's not like a plastic yo-yo or something, I try to highlight that. I'm like, this is my favorite finish. It's tough. And now that it's summer, you'll see me say that a lot more. I'll be really harping on like, this finish is great, or like, this finish is bad, because it's summer, and if it sticks to my arm, you'll see it go. Overall, I just try to give you the most honest, this is what I like about it, this is what I don't like about it. A lot of times, especially with some yo-yos, it's like, well, this is what I don't like about it, but it's not as big of a deal. I try to like be honest with you. Even if I think the yo-yo is great, I try to give you every shortcoming I can possibly think of. Sometimes I can't think of any. Totally happens. It's happened before. Not too often, but I try. I try to give you any possible shortcoming that it may have, and not only for me, but I try to bring it to Yo-Yo Club before I review it to kind of get 4 or 5 other opinions on it. And if somebody doesn't like something about it, I want them to tell me that so that I can mention it. You know, it's like, maybe it doesn't bother me, but maybe it bothers Kai Zizin or John Wolf or Brandon Pilardi or somebody like that. You know, somebody who's technically a more skilled yo-yo player than me, but at the same time, somebody who, you know, and somebody who can do deeper tricks. So maybe a yo-yo is great on its surface, but once you get into a deep tech mount, maybe it's really bad once, maybe the gap is too small once there's so many string wraps or something, and it gets snaggy at that point. You know, who knows? Maybe I don't find it snaggy, but maybe somebody else does. And I try to highlight that and accentuate that as well in the review as best as I can. So that's really it, guys. That's my whole approach to yo-yo reviews. I do it because you don't always get to try the yo-yos before you buy them, and I feel like if I can try as many yo-yos as I can beforehand, I can sort of help you guys make the most informed decision of how to spend your yo-yo money. Because let's face it, we don't all have infinite yo-yo money. Even I don't, and a lot of people just give me yo-yos to review. But you know, it is what it is. So I try to help you guys make the best informed decision to the best of my ability, and that's really what I'm going for, and I have fun in the process. So that's my approach to yo-yo reviews. But tell me what you think about that. Leave me a comment down below. I do videos every day, 7 days a week, sometimes only 6. Sometimes I skip Monday, but try to do videos every day as best as I can. So make sure you like and subscribe. But that's going to do it for me today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Cheers to you. Throw this. That's what fell off the beer. Butley throw. Gotta love them. I'll see you guys next time.